Hello, welcome back to a new video. Ah, welcome back. It's just so exciting. I don't even know why I'm excited. It's fun to film sometimes. Today is August, obviously. I forgot what day it is for real. I think today's the 15th. It's a Thursday. It is almost 5 o'clock. I'm just doing work. And I have been working from home for the last few days, which has been very nice for me. It's much of a luxury these days, more than a requirement. But I'm in a state of doing another video, which is why I'm here. And I just wanted to talk more about why I really chose engineering. Well, I already did that, but like more to say of like why I really focus on engineering as a major when I'm a consultant now, and do I really regret choosing this major over just going for like business or economics, or even mastering economics, seeing how that would be more important in my job. But anywho, real intro. Hello, I got a new mic, or the same mic, but same mic, old quality, whatever. I didn't want to carry that bulky mic again, so I was like, let me just go back to my old one. Hopefully this one works better. But anywho, one of the 5 reasons why I chose to go mechanical is, if you watch my last video, which is like my second video on my channel, you kind of see how I chose my major based on just like popularity in my own right of what I wanted to do versus what jobs were out there. I mean, my job was very popular. It wasn't like I wanted to be a historian or anything, but I still chose my major very much based on what I wanted to do. It just happened to align with the job expectations of like, oh, look how many jobs are out here for engineers. It's obviously a lot. So is there that, or be a doctor? If you watched my last video, I wasn't gonna be a doctor. But one of the main 5 reasons that why I stayed in engineering was ideally got me thinking about this question in my head. Was I was watching a lot of tech layoff videos in my free time on lunch breaks, which if you work in a tech company, you're probably wondering when your job is going to get, the big cut, and not that I'm worried about it in my own company, but because my company is pretty big, you do hear talks of layoffs happening every once in a while here and there. And for someone like me who didn't really major in this, in this job of business or economics or supply chain, you kind of wonder if I would be like the first one to be axed off, even though I've been here for basically a year, but I don't have as much experience as someone who may do project managing or who may have gone for economics and have like the math smarts or does, accountant stuff, whatever. But with tech layoffs happening and a lot of my friends either losing jobs, finding new jobs, or just thinking about, jumping from a job to a job, and we're all in the STEM field, it makes me start to wonder, okay, why did you major in mechanical engineering when even in my last 2 years of COVID, when COVID happened and we were all like kind of screwed over, why didn't I ever like change my major? It wasn't like my major became easier. In some cases, it became harder because, as we all know, classes went online, right? And if you're great at online classes, perfect. If you're not great at online classes, then my major was probably like not very good for you, because a lot of things we do is hands-on in some cases. So having to see someone else do it and it be recorded and then you watch it and still being told to answer questions based on something you were supposed to do, it is very, very difficult. And I'm surprised I scraped by those 4 years. But if you watch my old video, this is going to kind of reference it because it's not really a part 2, but it does talk about my major. You do hear me talk about like, oh yeah, I had struggles with, my major, but I never thought about changing it once because I knew why I was doing it, and it was never for like money reasons. So that was like a good part. And even after I graduated, I didn't really see that money because mechanical was actually a very low paying field. It's like 50K if you're lucky, and then like 70K if you're like, doing like extracurriculars in college or making a robot or something that like is grandier, But when I stayed in mechanical engineering, I really saw myself doing whatever I was supposed to do, like whether it was construction, I don't like construction, or if it was civil engineering work where I was making architecture drawings, anywhere I was needed, because even though the job was so saturated and there were so many openings, they were still tailoring themselves to like the best of the crop when most of us weren't getting the skills we needed in college because, the age old saying is college can really get you to a job, but it can't keep you in that job. You still have to learn a lot more just to tailor it to not just the job you're in, but the job industry, right? You cannot be a computer science and then be like, oh, I was taught so much in 4 years, but then go to a job and they don't know how to code. You don't know how to communicate with other people what your code means. You don't know how to implement your stuff into their software. All the things you may be taught but don't really know past the theoretical portion. So that's really reason why I started like thinking about this again. I'm not going back to school. I'm not going to major in anything else. School is kind of done for me. At this point in time, going back to school is more a waste of money than actually like beneficial. Like maybe years ago I would have been like, oh, major and minor and whatever. I'll do a master's, why not? But nowadays it's like you get a master's and you're, trying to fight the kids who are geniuses from 16 years old who've done like NASA projects, and you're going against like 20-year people trying to get a good job still in the industry because they were laid off like a year ago, and we're all trying to fight for 50K. Like, couldn't be me. I'm fine where I'm at. I like my company, but really I just found like 5 things that really kept me grounded outside of my pathos way of thinking when it comes to mechanical engineering. And one of the 5 things I found, I'll also be looking over here because I have a laptop with my list. So if I'm looking over here, it's because I have a laptop. Thank you. But one of the 5 is I don't ever get to the point of burnout in college. So, which is kind of surprising considering the workload I had to do. But when you're a mechanical engineer, for anyone who doesn't know, basically like an engineer, right? You learn a little bit of CS, computer science, a little bit of electrical engineering, a little bit of like architecture, engineering / just regular architecture, a little bit of math majoring, a little bit of physics majoring, a little bit of chem, a little bit of everything that is STEM related, right? And then you have your like humanity classes, which hope you cool down. A bunch of papers being written, but boy, is that a lot easier than dealing with a lot of like textbooks. But really, in my 4 years, especially during the pandemic, when teachers really did used to think we had more time because we were at home, they would force us to do more homework, read more papers, do more research when it comes to doing like research papers in our capstone classes, and doing all of that on top of my clubs that I was a part of, because you can't really get a good job these days without extracurriculars or a really good job in your major or internship. And then on top of that, I had homework. And on top of that, I had an actual job because I was paying for bills at the time. I had an apartment during my last year, and then I had to pay for like external bills that I had on top of my, room and board, because I was paying for room and board too. And all of that compounded onto each other would make a lot of people burn out during like halfway in the year, 2 years in, 3 years in, because the pandemic was also just like super stressful. And I did have a lot of friends who burned out. It obviously it impacted us the most during COVID. It's a little story time. COVID happens, right? It is our freshman year. Whenever freshman year, junior year comes, and I'm like at home with like family, trying to be safe. They're doing a whole stay at home, don't leave type shit. And basically, I had some friends who were trying to switch majors or move because they had a lot of complaints about our college. If you don't know, I went to Illinois Tech in Chicago, which is like near downtown, but if you know where Chinatown is, it's in that area. And like a lot of schools during this time, they weren't giving back half tuitions, because if you're not in college, right, if you're doing anything at home, then you're doing online school, which is technically cheaper than in-person school. So you should get somewhat of a refund if you're paying tuition for a high bill, whatever. Because my school was like $60K without fees, without books, without, in some cases, room and board. So it's like $60K plus, right? And people could not afford that, especially during COVID, when a lot of people couldn't tell their FAFSA why we needed more money, or tell their loans, hey, I need like an extra 10 grand, because a lot of loans were also being like slowly churning out because of the whole, everything was fucked up during COVID. And just to keep the story short, a few of my friends did leave the school. They went to other schools, pursued what they really wanted closer to home. I had a friend go back to like down south to leave biochemistry actually to become more of a music major, which is really cool. But it was sad because I don't see him anymore. But he moved away. I had friends who had personal issues with the school that never got fixed, and they end up burning out from the heavy workload. They're in my major, and they end up going to a different school in the city, but like further in the suburbs. So it became more of like we couldn't see each other anymore. And the rest of my friends, we just started burning out together. We just kind of had to deal with the gripes of what my school couldn't figure out, like a lot of schools couldn't figure out, is how to help your students when they're dealing with this huge stress of school work life balance, and now having a pandemic, which we haven't seen in so long, that is starting to affect a lot of us, especially now, because 4 years later, or when's the pandemic? Yeah, 4 years later, the pandemic still affects everything, right? Inflation is really bad. But when it comes to burnout, I really didn't want to burn out because burnout at home was so easy to do, right? I had friends who would go on our group chats that we had and they would talk about how they were struggling to like complete a homework assignment because the teachers was not letting up on the fact that they were not at home to chill. They were at home because they were forced to be at home, and they had to do this homework because they were given it, and they weren't just at home to watch TV all day, right? And for a lot of us, we couldn't just tell our teachers, like, hey, let's not give me 3 work assignments that week. Let's like break it up. Let's slow it down. We're all struggling. We're all looking over our families, and they just didn't really care. I would say some of our professors were not that great, and some of them left, which is the best part of the story. But for me, when it comes to not getting to the point of burnout, especially during COVID, because outside of COVID was obviously a lot easier, but during COVID, I had to take breaks. I was in my home at the time, so I would go to my backyard and I would just like sit and smell the flowers that were growing. It was like summertime weather, so I would just sit outside and smell the plants. Try to be one with nature for 2 seconds before I go back to straining my eyes on a really tiredest assignment, or in the times when I was at school and I was doing homework late at night on a Friday night, and I would be really upset because I have an assignment that was due like on Monday and I couldn't do on the weekends because I was working. I would literally go to the basement where we had our laundromat and I'd just scream. That's so weird, but yeah, literally when I was burning, I think I only burned out like one time, or at least I got to the point of feeling so stressed that it had to come out, was when I was in junior year and I was just like screaming in the basement because I felt so stressed out because all these assignments were compounding on each other, and all these like homework things were like not letting up, and we were reading books after books, and I had homework and I had tests and I had clubs that had their own work have to be done, and I was just like, oh my god, it's not that I'm one person, it's that everyone is one person, and we're all being compounded by these professors who, mind you, didn't really care. Like some teachers literally had two subjects they were being taught, like they were teaching, and they still were like, let me give you all the homework. And I was like, do you not understand our gripes? But the ones who cared, they definitely gave extensions, they definitely curved, they definitely made sure we had a lot of office time to talk to them before exams. But for the ones who didn't care, let's just say we were a private school, private university, so a few bad ratings, and they were kicked out promptly. But what I would say for the burnout TLDR is I really would just go out my way to scream outside, be one with nature, try to think of something for at least 20 minutes, do the whole little Pomodoro break, whatever it's called, and just like instead of watching a show or watching anime, I would just go outside. I would literally go and touch grass just to get away from being in my home all day. But number 2, because that was long, number 1 is this would be outside of COVID. Leave campus once a week. So obviously COVID couldn't do that, but when it wasn't COVID, I would go out once a week. Even if I had work that weekend, even if that Friday was like class and work, I would still go out. Whether it's going to a friend's dorm room, right? Whether it's to a frat party, whether it's to downtown and do nightlife with people, whether it's literally for like 30 minutes and then going back to my room to do homework, I would literally find myself time to like not have my entire day be homework and stress and homework and stress, because when you are doing most majors, right? Because some of them are a little too easy, I feel like. When you're doing most majors, no one stops to really think about how do you de-stress, right? Everyone's like, go to therapy, go talk to someone. But it's like, I should probably get to the point where I wouldn't need to get so bad that I need to go to a therapist. I should find like ways to de-stress before it like ruins my mental state and I have to drop out or take a gap year or switch majors, which I did not want to do. Like another 4 years of doing a major was no thank you, no thank you. But very much I chose to leave campus once a week, and that was really like, this is really a short part, but I just left. I would say if you want to go out, go do like art. If you need to go to like a park to draw or read a book, do that. Even if it's not a major thing like a party or going to downtown or going to the city, and don't do retail shopping. Probably don't do that. Once a week is a little crazy, but do what makes you happy that isn't in your room in the school on campus. And number three, I used the tutors. Those were really helpful resource that was overlooked in my school, and I can only assume at a lot of schools. So a little story time, woo, again. My senior year of college, I was a tutor actually for my major. So if you ever needed help with like homework or assignments or like teacher notes that you didn't understand, I was one of like 4 or 5 tutors. I chose my days and I worked those days, right? And when I was there, I would have some students come in, right? Irregularly, of course. They would come in, tell me they need help, and then I helped them. I helped them get to the point, because sometimes you don't know the answer, right? So you have to help them get to the point where they understand it based on whatever the teacher taught them. But what I found out when these students would come to me is they would only come right before a test. They would only come to me if they were like, I have a test this afternoon, I need help understanding this homework from like 2 weeks ago. And I just look at them and I'll be like, oh, I don't know if this hour-long session will give you enough time to understand enough to pass, right? Or I would have some friends who said they need tutors, and they would come to me, and then we just sit there and we do it. And I'm just like, do you understand it? And they're like, I don't think I do. And I'm sitting there and I'm telling them, okay, let's come back the following week or the following day, or whenever I'm free again to do tutoring, right? Not on my free days for real, but on my tutoring days, and I can help them again. Because sometimes I'm like lenient and I just don't care. If you're my friend, fine, I'll help you, whatever. Oh my God. But the next time I'll come in, they wouldn't be there, right? And I'll just sit there because I have to work, obviously. But I'll be like, where is this person who is struggling to, with their classes, and they need help with this assignment? I brought my old assignment to help them out with, because it was like similar, and they just wouldn't come. And I would just realize, like, oh wow, they didn't really care that much. I mean, not to say like they didn't care about their grades, they definitely did, but it definitely didn't give me the impression that they care enough to like worry about their schoolwork, right? And worry about just getting a good grade, which, whatever, people don't have to care, whatever. But for me to like continue in my major, if I'm burning out partly because of my bad grades or because I don't understand something, that would be a great reason for me to leave. But it wouldn't be a good excuse, for me to leave my major, especially if I knew there was tutors and if I knew there was office hours and I chose not to go there. It would be like, okay, now tell me why you chose to not use these resources. And now you're not even at the point where you don't want to try anymore. And now you're failing your classes. You're wasting 4 years of college and possibly your life, right? Because what are you going to do in 4 years if you're, not switching majors, but you're failing a major, whatever. But yeah, really, I chose to use tutors. I was a tutor, but I also needed help in the same classes I was tutoring sometimes. So I would go to my own tutors, right? I'll go to office hours. Now, I would say I would not go all the time. There was days where I needed help and I just wouldn't go because I was like, I'm so lazy. I'm at home. The office is like 10-minute walk. I just can't do it. And that was fine. I still look at the books. I still look over the notes. If I didn't understand something, I memorized it. I'm not gonna lie. I memorized certain ways to do things, and maybe it got me some points here and there. Didn't give me the right answer, but hey, you do what you gotta do in college, right? Parts of college is a scam anyway, so let's keep moving. Number 4, I meal prep once a week. Yeah, that took off a lot of stress. I meal prep now, actually. All the things I'm really talking about are kind of synonymous with what I do now. But meal prepping once a week was great because I didn't, one, have a lot of food. I was a broke college student, so we didn't have a lot of food. I lived with roommates, and we would like buy food maybe twice a month, if that, because we bought food together. And we'll meal prep once a week, maybe, once every other week, because food on campus was a great deal. And that's just something we did that would take away a lot of stress. It's not anything major, I think, but I think not worrying about certain parts of, like, I don't know, your day, automating your day is pretty good. It's not really automating, but you get what I'm trying to say. Whatever. And number 5, right? The last thing I said was I don't really want to stress about test scores. And this one is a very big one compared to like the first one, which is don't get to the point of burnout. And everything else is just like how you don't get to the point of burnout. But the last one really is hitting home, especially for a lot of people who are probably still in college or in school in general, or just learning. If you're learning something, you're probably doing a test score somewhere. But in school, when you have like bad test scores and you question if you're going to pass that class, that is obviously very stressful. Like even just stressing about like a certificate and worrying about, doing bad in the practice. You're like, oh my God, I can never make it in a real one. That is obviously very stressful, right? And the thing I really did was I stressed out about it. I literally stressed out. I could not think twice about being like, oh my God, I'm actually going to care so much about this test. And then I'm going to care so much if I, fail. I definitely did. I definitely could not put it behind me to be like, oh, shucks, I'll just do better in the next one. No, I'm going to sit up for this one, actually. But realistically, when it came to test scores, your teacher would give it to you, and I'll look at it, and if there's a certain test score that's like below whatever, I will take it, stuff it in my backpack, and I'll walk away. Walk away from the class. I'll go back to my room, and I'll take a nap. I would literally take a nap in my room after class. I took a nap anyway, but those days I would definitely take a nap, and I would sleep for like 2 hours, and then I'll do my assignments for the rest of the day, and then the next day coming through, when I have that class again in class, while we're taking notes, I will pull out the test again, and I'll look through it while the teacher is talking. Not a great look, obviously, but it made me stay focused. It made me reevaluate what I was doing, because if I went home, looked at my test, looked over what I did wrong, I would have been stressing about it, right? Some people can do really great and have to figure out what they did wrong automatically so they know what to do better next time, and I just can't do that personally. I would actually, if it's a really bad test score, I'd probably freak out, but if it wasn't bad, I'd be like, you know what, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I would always look at it during class the next day or the day after, right? And I'll look over it, and I'll look over what I did wrong, look back in my notes while I was supposed to take notes that day. I wouldn't miss out anything because usually these classes are recorded, but I would go over what I did wrong in those classes. And why I did that? One, sometimes our tests in those classes build up on each other. So to understand the next part of a lesson, you have to understand what you messed up on. And for me to do that, I couldn't learn the lessons I was currently in until I figured out what I did wrong in my old lessons. And that was just really the same for most of my mechanical classes, right? I couldn't very well tell myself, oh, I'm going to do thermo, and then, just because I failed that test, I'm just going to keep moving on with the next lecture. The next lecture is like, oh, this is the same as your test, but like, we're going to build on top of it. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Let's take a step back, actually. So I just couldn't do that. I couldn't do that at all. So instead, I chose to prioritize what I was doing. And yes, I prioritized the old test over the current lectures. Of course I did. I had time. But I made sure the day before that all my homework was done, because I knew coming into the next day, if I was going to be stressed about this test, that was my only stress for the day. Or for the hour, let's be honest. I was going to get homework that same day from that same class. But I knew I was not going to add on to any old stress Maybe future stress, yes, but that was a future me problem, as most things were. But for me, this kind of kept me away from being burnt out, which is number one on the list, but also kept me from thinking twice about my major, because these classes, while they were hard, I still had office hours. I still had tutoring, and there was a lot of tutors in some classes. So, I really had a lot of assistance when it came to that. Even after college, while I may not have tutoring for my job, a lot of stuff I still use to this day. So I'm glad I even stuck with my major. Like, for one, I do meal prep once a week. As you saw our last video, I was meal prepping. I don't make that meal every week. I make something different. I might make another meal prep video one day. Those were kind of fun. It was kind of hard to hold my phone up, so I'm not sure how I'm going to do it next time, but I'll figure it out. It's okay. But the meal prep is a big one. I don't have tutors, but I have managers. I have other coworkers. I have my manager, right? He is such a great person. He's so helpful, so sweet, so nice. So if I ever had a question, I know he would reply back to me with an answer and probably some documents to help me understand for real. I don't leave campus because I'm not on a campus, but I do try to go out once a week. I can't go out today because it's raining outside, but I will go out on this weekend. I'll go out on Saturday, probably Sunday. I don't know if I'll take you along. Don't hold your breath. I do. I don't have tests, but having certificates, yeah, those are like tests, but like a summer class. I don't know. I'm just like regurgitating whatever. But basically, I don't like burning out. No one likes burning out. The thought of burning out to some people feels like you're gonna burn out, and I can understand that mess as much as anyone. Like, to be like, oh, your life is whatever. It's like, I can understand. I can empathize. I can sympathize. I am with you all the way if you feel like you're burning out, because honestly, I take a nap if I'm working from home during my lunch break, because sometimes my days are so much stuff I have to do, or so much future worry I'm implying on myself, that taking a nap is like my only way is to de-stress. I can't just go outside, right? It's raining outside for one, right? But even on a normal day, I can't just go outside and be like, oh, I'm gonna go out in 80-degree weather and de-stress. Like, no, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I can't handle heat. I hate heat. Even right now, my AC is off just talking this video, and I'm like probably sweating or something. I don't know. But I just have to sleep. And sleep is a great medicine for a little while. I just can't sleep so much. But anywho, this is just, I wouldn't say a quick video. This is like 27 minutes. Probably going to be a little bit longer. Probably going to be a little less. Who knows? But thank you for listening if you listened. I'm on my floor because it's kind of comfy here. I've been on my desk a little too long, so I need a different place to be. But this is kind of fun. I think I might do more sit-down videos. I like this area. This is very pretty. Anywho, if you have any questions about ways I don't burn out, ways to burn out is crazy, or just strategies I use when it's a work day, or I'm in the office, or just when someone like me can even like think about distressing and ways I've actually done to distress, because I do have hobbies, I just don't really show them on here. Leave them in the comments below, please. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm and helps me out, helps YouTube out, though we all know everything helps YouTube out, so don't worry about them. And if you want to know more about me and more about what I want to talk about, just put everything goes in the comments. Thank you. This is Population Me. You are speaking with Miracle. Hi, and I'll see you next week for a new video. Bye.